Only on Fox, one of the attorneys for Alex Murdaugh, Jim Griffin, sits down with me for a one-on-one interview. Tonight, we're taking a look at two open sled death investigations revolving around a three-generation law family. In February 2019, a boat slammed into Archers Creek Bridge down in Beaufort County. 19-year-old Mallory Beach was thrown overboard. Her body found a week later. In April 2019, Paul Murdaugh, Alex's son, was charged with boating under the influence, causing death, BUI, causing great bodily injury as well. Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin represented Paul. He pleaded not guilty. Many say Alex Murdaugh's darkest secrets began to come out shortly after Mallory Beach died in that boat crash. Her family filed a wrongful death lawsuit which named Paul and his dad Alex. And there was a hearing scheduled the week Maggie and her son Paul were found shot to death. Attorney Jim Griffin tells us what happened.
The issues at the hearing were, was the case going to be transferred from Hampton County to Beaufort County? That was just recently argued. One of the issues that was on the table is what law is going to be applied. Is it going to be federal admiralty law because it was a navigable water down on the coast, or is it going to be South Carolina law? And then the third thing was Alec. You know, he was going to have to produce his statement of net worth and financial information. There does not seem to be any correlation whatsoever with what was about to happen in the hearing to you know, any benefit to any participant, whether Alec or the boating accident plaintiff or anybody, as to having Paul and Maggie dead. I mean, there's no correlation that I'm aware of.
So this financial troubles wouldn't come out? I think some people look at that and say, would that have
well,
maybe exposed him?
You know, if financial trouble came out, how does the murder of Paul and Maggie prevent that from coming out? I mean, they're not related. I mean, sure, he had concerns about disclosing his financial condition. I mean, no doubt about that, because his financial house was you know, a mess, clearly, as we know now. But so there's no, in our view, any correlation whatsoever.
It's bizarre when you have one man surrounded by all of this.
I don't disagree with the confluence of events, but just stop and ask yourself. The intense interest in this case has been from the boating accident, of this family dynasty, of the Murdaughs, of a long line of succession of Murdaugh men, okay? And that they're powerful and above the law in that part of the country. That is the narrative. That's what's been selling newspapers. And that there was concern that Paul, in that line of succession of powerful men in that county or that area, was going to get away with, you know, suffering consequences from the death of Mallory Beach.
Do you think he was on the path to get off of that?
Well, we were defending him, and it was a very defensible case. I can tell you that.
So did Alex Murdaugh try to sway the investigation in his son's case?
I know he didn't obstruct that investigation, I can tell you that, but that's the least of his worries. Accidents happen. You know, Mallory Beach was a very sad accident. Who was driving the boat at the night of the accident? I mean, that was subject to being disputed. What is not disputed about that boating accident is Paul took him out on the boat, and I can tell you his family are disappointed that Paul didn't bring everyone back safely, because you know that was disappointing. And in that regard, you know, Paul's responsible. You know, but was he criminally responsible for her death? And that never will be determined, because we didn't have that chance.
The charges against Paul Murdaugh were dropped after his death. The Attorney General's office says the investigation is ongoing and the wrongful death lawsuit is still active. Now, Mallory Beach is just one investigation tied to this family. Another one, Stephen Smith's death. I met Stephen's mom, Sandy, down in Hampton County recently. As we've reported, Stephen's body was found in the middle of Sandy Run Road back in 2015. He was an openly gay 19-year-old in a small low-country town. His mom has her own thoughts on why her son was killed. Take a listen.
I said at the beginning that it was a hate crime. In my opinion, I think that's what it was.
Law enforcement reports are conflicting. The sheriff's department said it was a homicide. The medical examiner believes he was hit by a car mirror in a hit and run. Either way, the fact is, someone killed Stephen Smith back in 2015. Now, Stephen's case went cold until June of this year, 2 weeks after Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found, shot and killed. SLED tells us while looking into the double homicide, they found evidence that had them reopen Stephen Smith's case.
What did they uncover in those 2 weeks investigating Paul and Maggie that made them go back to 2015 and reopen Stephen Smith's death?
Honestly, your guess is good as mine. Don't have any reason to believe that they uncovered anything. My best assessment is that there was some feeling, expression that the Murdaugh case was getting so much attention by SLED to investigate, and that the Stephen Smith case got zero attention. And I think SLED responded to that public sentiment.
Again, as of tonight, no one has been charged in Stephen Smith's death. SLED has not named anyone as a person of interest. Jim did tell me SLED has interviewed several people since reopening Smith's case. It's just one of several active investigations underway surrounding the Murdaugh family. Now, coming up on the 11 o'clock news, Jim Griffin addresses the millions Murdaugh says he's embezzled from his law firm and stolen from his clients. And we talk about how Murdaugh, the former attorney, may be spending years in prison. Stay with us.